Okay, in the previous tutorial we were able to populate this inventory container with our text objects, and now we want to actually start referencing our or Bob's inventory to fill the text or change the text to match what Bob's actually carrying. Now, I will warn you, you might want to get a cup of coffee or some headache medicine, because this one we might have to slow this one down a little bit, okay? First things first, let's go to our global variables. Okay, so we've got two important structures here that deal with our inventory. One, we have the actual item database, right? This just keeps track of what items we offer in the game, right? And then we have Bob's inventory, and we have these child variable structures that represent the 5 slots that Bob can hold an item, okay? Now, technically, Bob does not have any items, right? All of the item slots are filled with, where's Bob? Sorry, let me go down to Bob's. All of Bob's slots are actually, the is filled is at 0 because he doesn't have anything. Okay, that means theoretically we want to set it up so that if none of these slots have anything, we want to use item 0, which is just going to say that it's an empty slot. Okay, so how are we going to do this? Let's set up another external event here, okay? And let's rename this one. Let's call this one inventory check. And we'll connect it with main for right now, and we'll set up an empty event here. And we don't want this to again run all the time, so we want to make it basically just run once when we need it to run, and then stop there. So let's add a variable to keep track of when we need to run this. Let's go to global variables, and we'll go to, let's see, where should we put this under? You know what, I'll put it as a separate one. Let's make a new one down here. And let's call this one inventory check, okay? And we're going to set it to 0 so that when it's set to 0, it doesn't have to when it's set to 0, it doesn't have to do anything. When it's set to 1, we're going to make it go check. So let's hit apply. Let's come back to our inventory checker. Let me get rid of some of these here to make some room. Let's go back to our inventory check. And let's add our actual condition here, which is a variable, value of a global variable. And we're looking for inventory. Whoops. Where are you? Inventory check. When that equals 1, when it equals 1, we want to do the following. Run a check here, okay? And what that check is going to do is going to check every slot, at all 5 slots, to see if there's an item in there or not. So let's go to, actually I want to do, let's do a sub event here. And so if it's 1, then we'll go down to here, and the condition we want to set is we want to check slot 1. So global variable We want to do Bob. Bob inventory 1 is filled. Okay, if it's filled, it's going to have a 1. Or maybe we'll do 0 first. Keep it nice and simple. So if Bob's inventory 1 slot is not filled, because there's a 0 here, we're going to change the text. Let's go to our text object here, modify the text. Slot 1, we're going to set that equal to empty slot. Let's go ahead and link this just so we can try it along the way. Let's link this, whoops, sorry. Main events, and let's link it here. All right, there we go. Now, in order to stop this from checking, we're going to have to add a sub here as well in the end. Whoops, sorry about that. Here we are. And we're going to have to make this equal to 0 to stop it from working. Actually, I think we could just do we can just do this. Let's do this instead. If inventory check is 1, we'll do trigger once. Advanced. That way it just goes through this one time and stops. Let's just see how that works. Let's go back to main here. And let's try this out. Okay, didn't read that because we never changed global variable. That's why. Global variable inventory check is still 0 right now. So let's change that here. And now when we run it, it'll probably populate. There we go. Okay, so we've got that to show up there. Let's go back to our external event, and let's also say now copy, paste. Let's say that this is actually filled. Let's say that that has a 1. How are we going to figure out and get the name of the item into our text? Well, that's a little bit confusing. Let's go back to our text here, a text object, and we're going to modify the text of slot 1 again. We're going to set that equal to now. GDevelop has it built in that you can use language to reference a variable, but it's a little bit difficult to get. So we've got our global variable string. Items is our structure, our main structure, remember? Then these brackets are saying turn what's inside here and get the string value of it and input it as if it was part of the child variable. Yeah, that's a lot. Add a closing parenthesis to end of it. Is it one there? Is that it? Yeah, that's it. Okay. All right, that means I got to change it here too. All right, let's get rid of it there and change it here. Let me try to explain this as best as I can. If we were going to just change it to the value of one variable, it would have looked like this. Global variable string item sub 1 dot name, right? It would look just like that. Okay. But since we want to sort of loop through and get the value of this 1 dot name, we're telling the computer to convert this variable here, this child variable, into a string so that it all looks like one nice neat bit of code like this. So we take all of that to generate something that looks just like this. Yeah, not the easiest thing to get. But what this does is Bob's inventory slot 1, it gets the item ID number from the items variable. Let me just hit OK and let's go to the actual variable screen. Let's give Bob an item. Let's give him a health potion. Okay, that's the item number 4 on our items database. Okay, and let's say that in the first of Bob's inventory, his slot 1, that it actually is filled. So Bob now has an item. He's only going to have one of that item, and the item ID we get from our items structure. Health potion is item 4. So congratulations, we just gave Bob a single health potion. How do we transfer that over to our game? Via code like this. We say take the item's main structure and find Bob's inventory 1 item value, which is 4. So we're essentially saying take items dot 4 dot name and input it into slot 1. Let's just see if that worked. It did. There it is. Okay. Whew. If you're still confused by that, it's okay. It's not the easiest thing in the world. All you really need to know is all that code up here did was basically generate this value. It said Bob owns item 4, so let's find out what item 4's name is, and that's health potions. All right, let's burn through this one. We'll make this one a little bit longer, and let's finish up the code for that section actually. So we're basically going to do this multiple times now. So what's an easier way to do this? Let's do a group, and let's call this one slot 1. And we'll move that up here and move this over and move this over. And let's do a copy. We'll change this to slot 2. And we'll change that to Bob inventory 2. Bob inventory 2. Slot 2. And let's go back into this bad boy. Bob inventory. This is slot 2, item ID name. Object slot 2. Hit OK. Let's do another one. Let's just get all of our 3s in there. It's bound to happen that we're going to miss one eventually. Just take your time. We'll test it out in the end. Are you starting to have a little more understanding for game developers when they have bugs? You're like, no, I don't. They get paid a lot of money to do this. Well, not everybody. Let's do one more. Last one. Okay, you can do it. You can do it. Almost there. Okay, so we're going to trigger this once. Let's just move this to where it makes sense. Slot 2, 3, 4, and 5. Let's do one more group here. Let's call it check slots. Let's collapse all these. And let's put check slots up here. Trigger once, and let's move all of these underneath that grouping. All right, now this should check all of the slots and set them up the way that they should be. Bob should only have one item right now, and that's the health potion in slot 1. Yep, it worked. But you can see that our inventory here is a little bit messed up. But nonetheless, whew, we did it. We got that set up. Let's link it. Let's link it to our other scene. Inventory check. And is it over here? It is over here. All right, and we'll fix the rest of this next time. But for right now, we've got fairly a working inventory going here.